Yo, what's up? What's going on? My name is Gabby. Welcome back to my channel, and today I'm gonna be starting another reading vlog of reading your horror recommendations. And if you missed it, at the end of September, I actually just did a reading vlog like this of reading 4 of your horror book recommendations, so I'll have that linked down below if you missed that one, but this is going to be the second installment of another round of reading 4 more of your horror recommendations. I actually also did do this video last year in last October. This was like the first time I did that video, so if you missed that one, I'll also have that link down below. That video was so much fun to do. One of my favorite videos I've done on this channel, to be honest. And I'm so excited to once again be reading 4 books that you recommended to me in my community post. I asked in a community post at the beginning of September for all of your best horror recommendations, and you guys came through with so many comments, and so I just chose a few that I noticed were mentioned a couple times and ones that sound interesting to me. So the first book that I'm going to be reading for this video is Come With Me by Ronald Malfi. This one got recommended to me in 2 different comments. One of them was my friend Matt. He says it's a recent one that he's heard great things about, that got upvoted 6 times. And then this other one says Come With Me by Ronald Malfi had a good buzz. So I'm like, okay, I don't know if anybody's actually read this, but we're gonna go with it because it got recommended twice and it just sounds really interesting. On the back here it just says, this man's life changes one December morning when his wife Allison is killed. Haunted by her absence and her ghost, Aaron goes through her belongings where he finds a receipt for a motel room in another part of the country. Piloted by grief and an increasing sense of curiosity, Aaron embarks on a journey to discover what Allison had been doing in the weeks prior to her death. And I don't know, that's all I really know going into it. It looks spooky, it looks fun, so we're gonna give this one a go. The next book I'm gonna be reading for this video is The Good House, which this is one that I've personally had on my TBR for a very long time, so I'm glad that it was so highly recommended by you so that I could read it for this video. This book was mentioned 2 different times in the comment section. The main one though is this comment that had 46 thumbs up on it. She said, it's written by a Black woman and it's in my top 3 favorite books I've ever read. It has haunted house / haunted town vibes. The writing is perfection. The author creates the perfect creepy ambiance. I cannot recommend this book enough. It's so underrated. So like that comment alone has me super intrigued and super excited to read this one. The next book I'm going to be reading for this video is Stolen Tongues by Felix Blackwell, and this one also was mentioned in 2 different comments. The one that caught my eye though is this comment written by Lily that has 35 thumbs up. She says, it's a possession horror set in the Canadian mountains. Literally one of the best books I've ever read, and the author's the most grateful, sweet baby in the world. So I mean, if that wasn't convincing enough, you know, like that sounds amazing. I immediately wanted to read it after seeing that comment. So the back of this one says, a romantic cabin getaway doesn't go exactly as planned. It's about this couple celebrating their new engagement, but they hear a chorus of ghastly noises erupts from the nearby woods, the screams of animals, the cries of children, and the mad babble of 100 mournful voices. A dark figure looms near the windows in the dead of night, whispering to Faye. As the weather turns deadly, Felix discovers that his terrified fiancée isn't just mumbling in her sleep, she's whispering back. Sounds absolutely terrifying. I cannot wait. And then the last book that I'm going to be reading for this video is the video that got literally recommended to me the most times, because that is Tender is the Flesh. And this one is also one that has been on my TBR for a very long time, so I'm very glad that it was highly recommended by you. This book literally was mentioned in 9 different comments. Like, this is probably the most I've ever been recommended a book in a long time. The main comment though that caught my eye is this comment that has 108 thumbs up on it. And they said it's a dystopian novel about a world where cannibalism has been legalized because all animal meat has been contaminated with some sort of disease, so people have resorted to eating human flesh. It follows a man named Marcos who works for a human meat supplier, so there's quite a lot of gore and violence, but it's still so good, and the ending will leave you speechless. So yeah, that is the main comment that intrigued me, and yeah, 9 other comments mentioned this book. I know this one is also a translated work. I think this one was originally from Argentina, if I remember. Yeah, and then I think it was originally called Exquisite Corpse, was the original title for this book, and Tender is the Flesh is like the American version title, I'm pretty sure. I mean, that's pretty cool because I've been wanting to read this book for a very long time, and so this would be the perfect opportunity for me to read it, and I'm especially excited knowing how many of you loved it, so let's go. I'm really excited to see where this goes, so let's get to the reading. Hello there. I have decided to go ahead and start The Good House. I think I want to choose this one first because I just acquired the audiobook from my library, which is definitely going to help me through this. And I want to read this one first because I'm pretty sure it's the longest book I'm going to be attempting to read for this video, because this book is sitting at a good 480 pages, you know, it's nearly pushing 500 pages. And that's, you know, that's a pretty big book for me. I don't read books this size quite often, but I'm really excited for it. And all that I know about this book is that it's a haunted house story. And that's like literally all I know. I think it involves a mother and her son dying. I haven't honestly looked too much into it because I wanted to jump in not knowing a whole bunch. I'm excited. I'm excited to get this video rolling, and I'm just so curious to read this book and finally know what all the hype's about. Oh my god, this audiobook is 21 hours long. Holy crap. Pray for me.
Narrated by Robin Miles. This book is copyrighted 2003 by Canon Review 2. This recording is copyrighted 2003 by Recording Books, producer and publisher of Real Audio. While she and her family lived in an old house during the summer of 2001. Instead, an unexpected tragedy ripped her family apart. When Angela begins to pick up the pieces of her life, she becomes aware that she's not the only one who has suffered a shocking loss.
Hello, it is the next morning, and I wanted to let you know that last night I read about like 109 or like 110 pages of The Good House, 23% of the way through the audiobook. I forgot to grab the book on the way out, but I'm currently at Value Village right now because I'm waiting in line to donate a bunch of stuff, and these lines always take forever, so I figured I could just like listen to the audiobook more today while I was waiting in this line, because like literally last time this line took me like an hour. But anyways, I'm really enjoying this book so far. I feel like the atmosphere is already setting up this like really great ambiance. I was correct in the fact that this book kind of has a haunted house, but it's about a mother and a son, and the first 50 pages of this book kind of talks about how the mom had like found her son in the basement, and it looks like he died from a self-inflicted gun wound. And it was just really, really sad in the beginning, really powerful stuff. And I don't know if it's going to be a situation like the son is the one who's haunting the house, but it seems like this house has been known to be haunted for a while is what I'm getting, because in the very first chapter we do get a chapter that was from like 1929, like way back in the day, kind of talking about the same house, I'm assuming. And yeah, so far I'm really enjoying it. I'm gonna listen to the audiobook now and update you later.
You wouldn't believe a downtown with no streetlights or even a stop sign. You wouldn't believe there was a bar downtown called the River Saloon. Anytime Corey saw brown skin on anyone, he already learned they must be Mexican.
It is already 11:45 at night. I don't know where the day has gone, but I've been listening to the audio for The Good House like on and off today. I didn't get a chance to listen to too much, but I'm now on page 157, so not too far along. But you know what? I'm terrified right now because our electricity just went out, so I just lit a candle and it came back on like a second ago. It literally only went out for like a minute and then it came back on, and it's like windy as hell outside. I don't know if you can hear that wind behind me. This might be like the perfect night to just kind of stay up late and listen to a lot of this audiobook, because I get really anxious when it's really windy outside. Like, I don't know why, I hate the sound of the wind when it's like really, really strong. I don't know, the wind has always made me kind of just like on edge, so not a huge fan of that. But I am happy to say that I am still really enjoying this book. There is even a moment in this book earlier while I was reading it that I was like, oh shit, like that's creepy. But I will say it's definitely a slow burn. Like, I feel like we are getting to the good stuff, but so far not too many creepy things have been happening. Like, there's just been a little bit of things happening here and there. And I also didn't realize that we would be getting so many flashbacks in this book, but you know, it's definitely building this mystery of like, you know, I guess just trying to figure out what really happened to her son. And so I know that there's gonna be this like emotional kick probably towards the end of this book, and so yeah, I don't know, I'm looking forward to reading more of it tonight, and I will update you in the morning. Hopefully the wind isn't too bad tonight, but I don't know, we have a wind warning in effect until like tomorrow morning, I think, so the next morning. I know it doesn't seem like it because it's really gloomy out today, but I kind of love it. But I just went to Vitality, and I wanted to update you that last night I listened to a decent chunk of this book. I got up to page 262, so you know we're making progress. I still have a little over 200 pages left though. I really do enjoy the chapters that are in the present day, you know, like there's some really like spooky, creepy shit that's happening that I'm really enjoying, but the chapters that are like in the past, like the ones with her son and like the ones with like her grandmother or her great grandmother, those chapters are kind of like boring me to tears, and I think it's like starting to affect my enjoyment of the book. So I'm just like, oh, like I just hope those chapters start to either like pick up, or if we start to follow more of her chapters in the present day, because I'm just struggling to get through those chapters that are in the past. But I mean, otherwise, like I am really enjoying her present day chapters. Like I'm finding it to be very mysterious and spooky and just like perfect to read at this time of year right now. So while I eat, I am going to listen to more of this audiobook, and then I do have to film probably like 2 videos today, so I don't know how much more time I'm gonna have to read. And then I do work at 4 o'clock this afternoon, which is only in like a few hours now because I woke up so late today. And then I have a meeting after work tonight at like 9 o'clock. So I mean, today's kind of a busy day, so I don't know how much time I'm gonna have to read. Hello, I am on the way to work, and as expected, you know, those 2 videos that I had to film today took me quite a bit of time, so I wasn't able to read as much as I thought, but I did get all the way up to page 328, so I did get some done. I was listening to the audiobook as I was like putting all the books away from the videos that I filmed and while I was getting ready for work and stuff. So yeah, I still pretty much feel the same about it as I said before, so I don't really have an update on if my feelings about it have changed, because they haven't. I'm still just really curious to see what's going on in these present day chapters, but like, I mean, as I said, everything else has been kind of slow for me. So yeah, that's how I'm feeling about it. But anyways, I'm on the way to work right now. I'm just planning on listening to the audiobook on the way to work. It is about 10:30 at night now. I just got home from a meeting and my sister made cinnamon rolls, so I just had some of those. My hair like needs to be washed. It looks so gross right now. Anyways, I just wanted to let you know that I was able to read a little bit more of The Good House this afternoon, because right before I did get sent home like a little bit early for my shift at work, so I got to clock off 30 minutes early before a meeting was like at closing time, you know, at 9 o'clock. So yeah, I was able to get up to chapter 31 while I was sitting there off the clock just listening to the audiobook. So I'm on page 396 right now, so I have like a little bit less than 100 pages left. I have about like 80 to 90 pages left, and you know, I'm gonna save my full thoughts for when I'm done with this book. But honestly, like this book, it's starting to get like, I'm just starting to get that feeling like I'm not wanting to pick it back up again, you know, because I'm just getting like bored with the storyline, because I feel like I've been waiting so long for things to really pick up and get interesting. But I feel like so far it's just been really tame on like the horror. It's just been like little bits and pieces like here and there that I think are really exciting, but for the most part it's just been a lot of like day in the life of this woman, you know, and like a day in the life of like seeing her son in the past and kind of what was going on with him and his friend. And I don't know, there's like a lot of sex scenes which like maybe it's just the asexual in me, but I'm like, I don't care. Like there's so many sex scenes and I'm just like, I don't care. Don't really know how I feel about it right now. I feel pretty lukewarm about it. And so I'm just ready to finish it, you know? I'm ready to finish it.
I keep having dreams about this guy who comes to take him from us. That's my nightmare. My dad couldn't deal with it. I couldn't either. That's my little bro. Corey Noggin. Sean's dad was a good guy.
It is the next morning, and last night I finished reading The Good House. And I don't know, I have mixed feelings about this book. I feel like it's gonna end up being somewhere around a 3-star book for me. I took some notes last night because I was afraid that when I woke up this morning I was gonna forget exactly what I wanted to say. But for the most part, I found this book to be honestly kind of slow and kind of boring at times. I feel like this is a lot more of a character study than I was anticipating, and especially because I was really anticipating this book to be a really terrifying horror novel, but honestly it feels very mild on the horror. I feel like it's more like a supernatural like family drama, but I think for what this book is, I feel like it could have been cut down a lot. Like, this book is about 490 pages, and for this content in this book, I feel like this easily could have been cut down almost like in half. I also just wasn't a huge fan of the son Corey's point of view for some reason. I don't know why, but I just found his point of view to be so like boring, and I didn't really care about what was going on with his chapters. I feel like the only point of view in this book that I really cared about was Angela's point of view, who's Corey's mom in this book, because her chapters were actually so interesting and there was something going on with the house in her chapters. And so those were the chapters I was most invested in. And I will say, like, this was my first book that I've ever read from this author, and I will say she is a very talented writer. You know, like, she really does know how to bring these characters to life. She knows how to write a really atmospheric setting. But I just think her writing is, it's almost like Stephen King, that I have like the same issue, is that the writing is so detailed to the point where it's like unnecessary, and it's kind of like overkill, because I'm like, okay, just get to the point, you know? Like, I love a good detailed book for, you know, setting the atmosphere, but it's almost just to the point where it's like too much, and it's just like too much unnecessary dialogue, too much sex scenes. I mean, I know I complained about this last night, but seriously, there's a lot of sex scenes in this book, and they're very like descriptive, and like it's almost like you're immersed in a romance novel suddenly, you know? And a lot of the sex scenes just made me so uncomfy. Like, I just didn't want to read about them, and especially because I was listening to the audiobook, so you know how I am about listening to sex scenes on audio. It's just very uncomfortable. But I just don't think any horror novel needs to have this much sex in it. I was like, all right, that's enough. That's enough slices, you know? It was like that one TikTok meme. It's enough slices. Another reason why I do love this book, though, is because of that exploration of grief and how that can really affect a person, especially, you know, in this circumstance when it's like a mother who's literally lost her son and the grief that she experiences because of that. It was just really touching, and these characters were really well fleshed out. And so yeah, I feel like this is a 3-star book for me. Like, there were definitely things I enjoyed about it, and there were definitely things that I had nitpicky issues about. But besides that, I did enjoy my time reading this book, and I'm glad that I finally read it, because this book has been on my TBR for quite some time. So that's pretty cool. But anyways, I just filmed a video that I had to film really fast, and now I have to edit it really quick because I have to get it to the company that sponsored the video. I have to like get that approved soon. So I'm gonna edit that really quick, and then hopefully I will have the time to start another book before I go to work tonight, but I'm not totally sure because I work at 4 and it's already like 1:20 in the afternoon right now. So like, we'll see. Howdy, what's up? How's it going? It's been like 24 hours since I last updated this vlog, and no, I haven't read anything. I've just been so busy with like work lately and like editing videos and just like, ugh, I've just had no time to read. And I've been watching Squid Game a lot, so that's also taken up a lot of my time. Obsessed with that show, by the way, just absolutely obsessed. But I wanted to show you because at Vitality this month, they have a pumpkin bowl, and it has like pumpkin seeds and like nutmeg and stuff in here, and like cinnamon. And I'm so excited to try this because it sounds like everything that I would love, but also I don't know how I feel about pumpkin being mixed with acai. It's amazing. Pumpkin just slaps in everything, you know, it's confirmed. All right, it is now nearly 2 o'clock in the afternoon already. Like, I don't know where this morning is going, but it's going by so quick. And I only have about like 2 hours until I have to start getting ready to leave for work. So I think I'm going to pick up Come With Me. I think this is the next one that I want to read, mainly because I don't know anything about it, and it's the second longest. I don't know why. I feel like I have to bust out the longest ones first, because as much as I do want to pick up both of these books right now, Stolen Tongues, I really want to read this book, but the audiobook, like, I don't even know if there is an audiobook for this, so I'm gonna set it aside right now because my brain is just like all over the place right now and I can't focus without an audiobook. And even though I do have the audiobook from my library like ready to go for this one, I feel like this book is a book that I want to read all in one sitting if I can. So for that reason, I'm gonna save this, I think, for another day. And yeah, with that being said, I did have this book on hold at my library, but it still says it's gonna be like a 5-week wait. So instead of waiting, I think I am just gonna go on Libro and download this audiobook. I mean, the audiobook's like 11 hours and 25 minutes. It's a pretty like standard, you know, length audiobook. So I'm gonna go ahead and download it now. I don't know, I'm excited for this book. Like, off the top of my head right now, I can't even remember the general premise. I think it's just like this guy's wife dies. I have absolutely zero ideas for what to expect with this book right now. And that kind of makes me excited, you know? I'm a little intrigued. it's been a couple of hours and I'm stoked to let you know that I am 190 pages into Come With Me. And so I only have about like 200 pages left in this book. I got about like pretty much halfway through. And so I was correct in the assumption that this is a horror novel that's about this guy who his wife dies pretty much like right at the beginning of this book. Shortly after her death though, he finds this one thing that like doesn't make sense to him. Like she stayed at this hotel on this night where he was like in a different city, and like he thinks that she might have had something going on that was more of a secret. And it's interesting because his wife is a journalist, and so he thinks that she was like trying to track down some like shady shit. And I don't know if that's like how connected to like how she died or why she died, but it's still like really interesting to see. I will say though, so far I do think it's kind of slow, you know, just because, just like the last book, you know, I feel like this is really a horror novel that's dealing specifically with grief. And so it's interesting that I'm reading these books back to back because, you know, we're dealing with someone who's lost someone very close to them, and that is the thing that is the most horrific thing about these books so far. But I will say there are some creepy moments in this book that I'm really enjoying, involving a headlight game with their cars. I think that's like really creepy and really cool, like something that's going on. But so far it's just been a lot of this main character kind of trying to track down what happened in his wife's last few months of life and trying to figure out what she was up to and what could have possibly led to her death. I will say this is feeling more like a mystery to me right now as opposed to a horror novel, but I'm hoping towards the end of this book it really steps it up on the horror. Hello, it's late at night, it's like after midnight now, and I wanted to let you know that I got up to page 235, but I'm probably just gonna try to listen to like one more chapter and then probably go to bed because I just watched 3 episodes of Squid Game when I got home from work tonight, and the last episode that I just watched made me bawl my freaking eyes out, and so I'm feeling pretty like sad, and my face feels like puffy, you know, like right after you cry you just feel like tired. So thanks Squid Game for ruining my life. I'm just kidding, but yeah, I don't know if I can read more of this right now. Like I was able to listen to a good chunk of the audiobook, you know, on the way to work and on the way back from work, and I have about an hour and a half of the audiobook left. But I do work all day tomorrow, so that means I'm gonna have a drive to work tomorrow, a drive back home, and hopefully I'll have some time like during a break tomorrow to be able to read some, so I'm pretty sure I'll still be able to finish this book tomorrow.
Also, Prologue. Past us. The trees whispered and rattled their leaves all around me. Something caused the hairs to stand up on the neighbor.
Hello, it is the next day and I'm on my lunch break. I have about 40 minutes left of my lunch break, and it says I have 32 minutes left of this audiobook. I've been listening to some of it this morning and I'm currently on page 340. So I just have this tiny little chunk left, so I think I'll be able to finish it right now on my break, which would be fantastic. Gorgeous. October sunsets are always like the most beautiful. Hello, it is about 11:30 at night right now. I'm home. I finished the book. Come With Me. I finished this earlier today while I was at work. I mean, while there was, you know, one surprising kind of twist thing that happened towards the end of this book, I struggle with calling this book horror. I mean, it's honestly like a pretty average mystery kind of book to me. I mean, I wouldn't even call this a thriller really, because I don't think there's any There's only very few moments in this book that are actually thrilling. A lot of this book is just building up this mystery of like what happened to his wife, and that's pretty much what this entire story is revolving around. I didn't care a whole lot about this mystery for whatever reason. It just like, I don't know if it's just because I never really connected with the characters or like what. But I think the most horrifying thing about this book is, you know, someone dealing with grief after they've lost someone that they love and trying to cope with that and trying to learn how to deal with that. And while I do agree that that's very horrifying, I just don't think that this book should be classified as horror, because it's just not really, in my opinion. Like, I don't know. There were very, very few horror elements in this book, so I would just say this is like a mystery book that has some little bits and pieces that feel like it might be horror, but it's not really horror. Maybe it's because I've just read so much horror that's a lot more intense than this is, you know? Like, I guess I expected more from this. Like, I really wanted it to up its game, but I honestly feel like I've read so many books that are like this, you know? So many mystery books. Like, I've read so many books where it's like his wife died and then he finds out that she had this secret life, and I guess I just wanted more from that story that was going on there. It just felt very much like I've read something like this before, so it didn't feel very original to me. And I don't know, I just feel like I don't really understand the hype with this one. It was very long and kind of boring, and you know, after reading the author's note, like, I understand why the author wanted to tell this story, and I'm really glad that this author did decide to tell this story because it's so personal to him. But for my personal taste, I just did not love it the way that I wanted to, and I'm sad about it. On top of the fact that Squid Game just ruined my life. I mean, I'm being a little bit dramatic, but I just finished Squid Game. As much as I love the show, like, I absolutely fucking love this show, I will admit the last episode was pretty disappointing for me. Like, I didn't love that last episode. I thought there was a plot twist at the very end that was very unnecessary, and just like, why? Despite my issues with that final episode, like, god, that show just like completely wrecked me, and I got so freaking attached to some characters, and I just feel so much. I just have so many feelings about this show. Like, I just genuinely loved it so much. It's been a while since a show has made me cry as hard as I did after episode 6, which is what you saw last night. Literally, that episode gave me nightmares last night. Like, I was literally awake at 3 in the morning thinking about that episode and like wanting to cry, and episode 6 just like completely traumatized me, but like in the best way. Like, it was so good. I just loved it so much. Like, this show is definitely a new all-time favorite just because of that episode alone. Like, that episode is one of the best written episodes that I've ever seen on a TV show. God, Squid Game was amazing. Like, even regardless of the fact that it had like a mediocre finale, I would still 10 out of 10 highly recommend this show. Like, this show is gonna make you think, it's gonna make you cry, it's gonna make you give a shit about the characters, and it's so freaking intense. Like, my heart was racing every single episode, and it was just such a great experience. Like, definitely one of the best shows I've seen this year, and one of the best shows I've ever seen, period. But yeah, anyways, I don't know if I'm in the mood to start another book tonight. You know, I know it's only 11:30 right now, but I do work in the morning and I have to be up at 9. I might start Tender is the Flesh tonight, but it's only because I have plans to read the entire book tomorrow when I get home from work, because I'm only working a morning shift tomorrow, so I kind of want to start it tonight and maybe just read like a chapter or two just to get a taste for it, and then listen to the audiobook like on the way to work tomorrow. Wow.
Hey, Spud. That's what it was. He doesn't say.
So, last night I got all the way up to page 60 of Tender is the Flesh. I know I said I was only gonna read like a chapter or two, but I got kind of like invested and very interested in this book, so I just continued to read a little bit more. And now while I was on the way to work, I got up to page 82. This book is absolutely horrific and so disgusting to read about right now. So if you didn't know the premise of this book, we're following this man who's living in this kind of dystopian world where animals are no longer edible to humans because these animals have all developed this kind of virus that's been going around, and now it's unsafe for humans to eat animals. So of course, naturally, humans decide that we are going to eat other humans now. We have a very Soylent Green type of situation happening in this book where humans have decided that it's okay to eat other humans and cannibalism is just kind of like the new normal thing. Obviously, having some major social commentary in this book. If this is so disgusting and disturbing and just horrific to read about them doing this to humans, then what makes us just think it's okay to live in this world where they're just doing this to animals? You know, like what makes it so different and so not okay to do this to animals? You know, it's raising a lot of questions like that, especially in my mind. Like, slaughterhouses in general are just like the most horrific, disturbing things I've ever heard of in my life, and so the fact that it's humans in this slaughterhouse just makes it even more like, ugh, it's uncomfy. Constant uneasiness in my stomach the entire time I've been reading this so far. Like, this shit is very disturbing and very graphic. I will say though, I really highly recommend the audiobook because I do know that this is translated work, and so when I was reading the book alongside with it physically, the physical book actually has different wording than the audiobook does, and so I feel like the translation is a little rough in the physical print book, but the audiobook is actually really great. Like, he changes around the words so that it makes more sense with the way English is spoken usually. So I would highly recommend the audiobook over reading the physical print book. Either way, like, damn, I'm enjoying this story and I'm like terrified and curious to see where it goes. It's definitely one of the most graphic and like gory books that I've read in some time. So I'm just kind of like, ugh, like to see where this goes, but I'm definitely gonna try to finish this today. I only worked this morning. I just got home from work and I'm now like 50% through with this book. I just hit page 100 and this book is so disturbing, but I'm gonna continue to listen to the audiobook. I'm gonna go for a walk at the park right now. I'm gonna take Tank out because it's been a while since me and Tank have gone on a walk, and with this like perfect fall gloomy weather out there, I just want to be like out in the fall weather, you know? It's so pretty out here. Well, Tank is so hard to walk because he just wants to dart. Oh no, Tanky. I think he already threw up. Tanky. Tank, come on. Stop eating the grass. Come on. Come on. Oh, it's so beautiful out here. Alright, we are back home from the walk. And Tanky had a really great time, but he threw up twice when we got home. I don't know what it is with walks, but they're just like too much for his little body to handle, you know? Like, he loves going on a walk, but then I think he just gets so overexcited and overhyped, and he's like not a walking kind of dog, you know? That's just not what he does often. He's the kind of dog that you like will chill on the couch with for like 8 hours straight, you know? He's not the kind of dog you like go on a run with. But either way, he's a trooper. He just really likes to get out, you know, and walk around. It's his gym. Oh my goodness. But anyways, while I was on that walk, I was listening to the audiobook for Tender's the Flesh still, and I got to the part where it hit part 2, and at the end of part 1, I almost like gasped out loud, and I was like, I need to go back and like rehear whatever I just heard, because I was like, did I just hear that correctly? Like, what on earth? So I had to re-listen to that last chapter right before part 2 because I was like, what the fuck did I just read? I think I'm gonna re-listen to the beginning of part 2 because when I was walking, I was like distracted by people around me and stuff, and I couldn't exactly hear like what was going down, but I'm like, what? Like, this part 2 is like interesting and different from part 1 so far. So I don't know, I'm really enjoying this. This is like some freaky ass shit, and it honestly like makes me like sick to my stomach to read this, but I'm also so curious about it that I just like have to know. Yeah, that's the update. Also, I might have to go to Trader Joe's because I really want to make a charcuterie board for dinner tonight, and I don't have everything that I need. All right, I am home from Trader Joe's. I have showered. I feel alive. I have about 50 pages left, so I'm just gonna sit here on the couch, chill with Tank, and finally finish this book. Woo! Okay, wow, so just finished Tender is the Flesh, and this was wild. Like, this was a really crazy book. I honestly don't really know how I feel about it immediately, but I just want to say that that last chapter was truly horrific, and especially like that last sentence, like I just had to reread that 5 times to make sure I just read what just happened correctly, because I was like, holy shit. So yeah, I think this is like one of those books that's just the perfect length, you know, it's only 210 pages. You just get immediately put into this world and you start learning about how things are in this world. And I feel like this book has so much different commentary on a lot of different things. I mean, the main one being, you know, how we treat animals and how we treat animals so shitty, and why do we put humans above any other species? You know, it just doesn't make sense. There's a lot of different commentary in this book that I wasn't really expecting, and I don't know, I just thought it was so well done, and I can definitely see why a lot of people were recommending me this book. And I can also see why a lot of people who were saying if you're a vegan or vegetarian to not read this book. Feeling like this is going to be somewhere around a 4-star for me. I really freaking enjoyed it. It's not a new like all-time favorite of mine, but I definitely see the hype with this one, and I think that was disgusting and terrifying and just like, wow. I was reading some of these different praises for Tender is the Flesh on the back of them, and I think the one that I agree with most is this one here that says, told with a chilly aloofness that makes the horror of it all the more disturbing. Because I totally agree with, like, the writing just kind of makes it seem like, oh, it's just like a day in the life, and it's just so horrific. I also like this one here, a brutal tale of what humans are capable of inflicting on themselves when social norms collapse. Grotesque, gloriously nasty, utterly compelling. The charcuterie board has been made, and it's a beauty. Probably one of the most stunning boards I've ever made. Wow. Before Anne Rachel's home.
My doggo.
Oh, Dingo.
Baby.
Hello. It is the same night. It's just a little bit later in the night. It's actually about midnight. Like right now, it just hit midnight. And I think I'm just considering laying here and starting Stolen Tongues. I'm embarrassed to say that I've been sitting here in my room for like the last hour trying to figure out this video that I want to do for my channel. I've been wanting to do this one video, and I've just been rethinking like how I'm going to do it, and I thought I was going to start filming it tonight, but then YouTube is stressful sometimes. I change my ideas last minute and I don't know what I'm doing anymore. But I figured since that idea isn't happening tonight, I figured I might as well just get a start on Stolen Tongues. And this one, I couldn't, like, as I was sitting here, I couldn't remember for the life of me what this book is about. Like, I have not the faintest idea. And so I was just looking it up on Goodreads, and the genres for this book are intriguing because it says not only horror, but it says supernatural, Halloween, paranormal. And then I came across this review on Goodreads from Uptown Horror Reviews, and they said, in all my years of reading horror, this was the first and only book that has actually scared me and made me want to sleep with the lights on. What better time to start this book than at midnight? Am I right? Like, if I'm gonna get scared, it's gonna be reading this late at night, so I might as well do that. Oh my god, I only read the prologue right now, and the prologue was only like 10 pages long, and I'm already so creeped out. Like, this is the most creeped out I've been out of any of these 4 books so far. That was so creepy, but like so good. That was such a good prologue. I'm immediately intrigued. I'm like low-key kind of scared right now to continue reading this. Like, wow. Can somebody tell me why? Why did I decide to read this book at midnight? They were not joking. I'm only 46 pages in and I can't right now. I'm seriously debating like sleeping with the lights on right now. Like, I am terrified. It's so creepy. It's so creepy. This is like my fucking worst nightmare, dude. And I'm just terrified for them. How am I supposed to sleep? Why do I do this to myself? It's so freaking good though. It's so good, but I can't handle it right now. It's too scary. It's the next morning, and I'm sorry if you can hear the freaking wind outside, but it's so windy all of a sudden this morning, which is weird. But I wanted to let you know that last night I only got up to page 46. I got to chapter 6 before I was like hell no, I cannot be reading this before bed, and I literally slept with the lights on. Full blown, like lights were on. And it's been a while since a horror book has freaked me out so much before bed that I felt the need to sleep with the lights on. I don't think this has happened to me since I read The Winter People in January this year, and before that it was The Patient by Jasper DeWitt last year in August. Holy shit, dude, this is terrifying. I think this is exactly the kind of thing in horror that really scares me, you know, because it just feels so real. Also, something that I think is so strange about this book is that the main character's name in this book is Felix, and the author's name is Felix. So this is like another one of those horror books where the author is the protagonist in a way. So it has me wondering if any of this is like based off his own experiences, maybe a little bit, I don't know. So yeah, I didn't even really explain to you what this book is about, and so in the very first prologue of this book, that feels like it could be like its very own little short story there, you know, because we're following this couple, Felix and Faye, and it's when they were like a lot younger. They went to go stay at their friend's cabin that was like out in the middle of nowhere, and while they were there, the friend has a parrot there that's like the pet that this guy Felix has always known, the pet parrot there, and the parrot will like mimic you, right? It'll say stuff that you do, and like, you know, it'll be like, you're getting closer, you're getting closer, you're getting further, you know, like stuff like that, whatever. And so then in the middle of the night, this fucking parrot is like staring at the sliding glass door at in this cabin, and behind them is like a bunch of woods. They can't really see what's out there, but they keep thinking they're like hearing something out in the woods, and then the fucking parrot will like mimic, or like the fucking parrot will like screech and think it's seeing something. And it's just like the idea of this parrot, it just really freaks me out. Like the idea that the parrot can see something and it wants to mimic whatever is out there, like absolutely terrifying, so creepy. And so the prologue on its own was really, really well done and so creepy, like, oh my god, because they decided to bring the parrot like into their room, and yeah, you can only imagine what the parrot starts doing once it's in the room with them, like absolutely terrifying, so creepy. And so then this actual story takes place like a few years later, and Felix and Faye are going to this cabin that her parents own, or like her grandparents owned or something, and so they're going for like a romantic getaway because they've been saying they needed to get out of, you know, the city or wherever and just leave. And so we're following them as they're going to stay at this cabin, and it's supposed to be like a nice relaxing trip for them. And it's kind of like similar things are starting to happen again, where they're like hearing noises out in the woods, and like, you know, creepy things just seem to be happening. Like they can hear like thumps against the window all of a sudden, but then they go out there and there's nobody there. And they're also dealing with a very intense blizzard. Like it is just snowing so hardcore that there's no way that they can leave this place now, you know, because their car is completely snowed in and they are miles away from civilization and anybody else. So they don't know why there would be anybody out there, which is why it's like extra creepy that they can like hear noises coming from the woods that sound like human voices. And oh my god, dude, the things that just happened in chapter 5, I was gonna die because of how scared I was for them. Like I would literally just die. And it kind of does say this in the premise of the book, so I don't feel like this is too much of a spoiler. Basically, he's saying that his wife, you know, this guy, this main character, his wife Faye, has always had some kind of like sleeping, you know, like some undiagnosed sleeping problems, and part of that is like she whispers and talks in her sleep sometimes. And dude, this bitch is literally like whispering back to whatever is out there, and he can like hear them having a conversation. Like I can't. It's so creepy. Oh my god. Even the description of this, it says, as the weather turns deadly, Felix discovers that his terrified fiance isn't just mumbling in her sleep, she's whispering back. Is that not the creepiest shit you've ever heard? Oh my god. And it just got worse, you know, because in chapter 5, the one that I read right before I went to bed, there was like the most creepy shit back to back to back to back. And with the wife fucking whispering in her sleep, like, no fucking thank you. Oh my god, I literally slept with the lights on. I was so freaked out. This book is just so well written so far, and it's so genuinely creepy, and I'm obsessed with it. I love it so much. Now with today being very like gloomy and windy, and it's supposed to be raining for the rest of the day, like I don't really see myself going out much. I mean, I kind of wanted to go down to the bookstore today, like to that ARC bookstore that has all the ARCs there, and kind of see what's up, but I don't know if I want to go out today, so I might just instead spend the day reading. I don't really know, but Rachel and Obed are both home today, so I don't know how much reading I'm going to be getting done today, but I just love it so much and I cannot wait to read it. Like, this is by far one of the most terrifying, creepy things that I've ever read, and I'm living for it.
Rays stare mournfully toward what I assume is the surface of their home. There are.
So I'm at the bookstore. I just decided to come and check it out anyways because I just kind of wanted to get out of the apartment. So yeah, hopefully we'll see if I can find any ARCs. This is the bookstore that I like to go to because they usually have an ARC bookshelf, and I haven't been in a while, so we'll see if they have anything interesting. My god, I just hit the freaking jackpot at that bookstore right now. I walked out of there with 8 books. I had to have a bag to carry all of the things, and I'm so excited because I found 2 books that were like really discounted, like fairly new books, and then I also found 6 different ARCs. And so the first book that I got discounted was Horseman, which, like, didn't this book just come out? Like, if I'm correct, I'm pretty sure this book just published within the last like 6 weeks, so that's pretty cool. It was discounted for $10. This paperback is usually $17, so very excited to find this, and like perfect timing for this spooky season. Oh my god. And then I also found Follow Me to Ground. This one was also discounted for $10, and this is one that I've been really curious about for a long time, and I didn't realize it was so short, so I'm super excited to read this one. And then the 6 ARCs that I found, these books, it's so cool because the ARC section of the bookstore, they only charge you $2 as a donation for any of their ARCs. So when I saw all these books, I kind of went insane because the first one I found is Black Girls Must Die Exhausted, which I'm so excited because I just put this audiobook on hold at my library like yesterday. So I'm so excited that whenever that I do get the audiobook checked out, I can follow along with this book. And then I found When the Reckoning Comes. This one is a horror novel that just came out in August, and I've been hearing so many things in the horror community about this book, so I'm really excited to give it a go. And I didn't realize this one's pretty short too, so also very excited. And then I found Sia in the Moonlit Beginning of Everything, and I'm excited to have found this one because I've actually had this audiobook on Libro for like over a year now, and I've been wanting to get to it, but now that I have the book, I don't know why, it just makes it so much easier to follow along in the story for me if I have the audio to follow along with, so definitely stoked to have found this one. And then I also found the new Darcy Coates, The Haunting of Lee Barker, and I've never read anything by Darcy Coates, so I'm so stoked to have found this one. This one just went on sale September 7th, so like very recently, and I've heard pretty good things about this one so far, and like this is the perfect time of year to read this shit, so I'm stoked. I also found an art copy of Such a Quiet Place by Megan Miranda, which is really cool. This one just went on sale in July. I haven't gotten to it yet, and so I think I'm gonna put this audiobook on hold at my library too, and then read this with it and see if I like it. And then the last ARC that I got was actually Rock, Paper, Scissors by Alice Feeney. I saw this and I could not resist getting it because it's one of my favorite books of the year, so I want to like pass this one on to my mom so that she can read it immediately. Oh my god, amazing. Can you believe that? Like, I just hit the freaking jackpot in there. Like, I never walk out of there with that many books, but I could not even help myself. Come on, that's amazing.
Everyone's friends like us to swoop in, holding against the paper we have. Keith doesn't have any. Jonathan had called us on the drive. Peter might not have been perfect.
All right, I am home and I'm gonna read outside, even though it's kind of windy and crazy out here, but it just fits the vibes so well out here. Like, it's just so spooky and rainy and like the perfect fall day, so I'm gonna read outside. I mean, look at this day out here, you know, you can't really beat this. Hello, how's it going? It's been a few hours and I've been making my way through Stolen Tongues, and I got all the way up to part 4, which puts me at page 215. And I'm not gonna lie, after part 1 of the book finished, the story took like a turn because I kind of expected for them to stay, like, I thought this would be a very, you know, isolated type of horror novel where they stay in this cabin for like the majority of the book, but that was kind of not the case, and so I wasn't really expecting that. And so I was thinking, oh, like the spookiness is probably only gonna be in part 1 and it's gonna get a lot slower after that, but like, no dude. This book is just continuing to be so scary, so terrifying. I honestly don't think that I could read this book at night just because even during the day, it's genuinely freaking me out. And it's just like, everything that I fear in horror books is like mentioned in this book. Like literally anything awful that you can think of about like living in an isolated place near woods where there's trees and you can't make out shapes, and it's just so scary. I'm freaking loving this. I don't know if I'm gonna read any more tonight because I think we're gonna try to figure out what to have for dinner right now. Rachel just made some really great nacho cheese, by the way. That's like her thing lately, is making really good nacho cheese.
My thing?
Yeah, it's your thing. She made it once for a football game the other day, and like, oh my god, ever since, it's just like,
It's like cheese dip.
yeah, it's like a cheese dip. Oh, it's freaking fantastic. So she just made that, so
Yeah, let me show you.
let me show you. Hold on.
Look.
Wow.
Do you see that? Damn. Get that
dude.
close up.
You just go in
Get
there,
that three.
you get that fucking chip. You fucking,
I mean, Gabby doesn't
Fucking
dip.
dip.
Gabby just like barely, you know, you gotta scoop.
I fucking dip.
You have to scoop.
I fucking dip.
What the fuck is that?
Scoop. Dip.
No, there's barely anything on there. Give me a chip. Give me a chip. Let me show you. Oh. Oh, fuck.
That's what happens.
This is a real creamy dip.
Oh,
Oh my god, I just can't do it. See, look at that.
can't even.
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
You see that? That's my friends.
That's
They just go.
scoop right there.
You hear that?
I think everyone heard that. Very much so.
Anyways, you can conclude what you're saying.
Anyways, is it really close?
Nope.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I don't think I'm gonna finish Stolen Tongues tonight because I'm scared to read it in the dark. Tonight we are gonna watch The Guilty finally, which is the new Jake Gyllenhaal movie on Netflix. I haven't been able to watch it yet because Squid Game like ruined my life, you know? And so I needed a few days to like recover from Squid Game. You know,
can see that.
Rachel agrees. It
Yeah.
also fucked her up pretty bad.
Yeah, it was pretty good. Pretty good.
So, yeah. And look what I finally just got in the mail today. This is the book troop selection for the month of October, if you didn't recognize that. And I'm so excited because the publisher said they sent it to me like a week and a half ago, and I was like, where is it? Like, oh my god, is it coming? Is it here? Am I gonna have to buy a copy? And then bam, it shows up today, like perfect timing.
Wow.
I'm just so excited.
That's insane.
I'm gonna make Rachel read this book. That's in her future.
Okay. 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 I got some onions in there. We got some hot breakfast sausage. 1 can of Rotel. It's called Rotel can. And it has like green chilies and tomatoes in there. And then I got Monterey Jack, Colby Jack, Pepper Jack, Velveeta, and cream cheese. And then you set the oven at 400, put a foil on it, and put it in there for like 40 minutes.
Dang.
And then you got this legendary. But you can pick the cheeses like what you want more of. Because if you want it to be like that real, like, not super real cheesy tasting, you could put more Velveeta in there. If you want like amazing tasting cheesy, you know, you can put pepper jack if you want it more spicy. You can add jalapenos if you like it spicy. My stomach says no.
Speaking of which, can you give us the deets on the next bullet journal video?
Oh god.
Can we have the...
I barely have time to even do the month before I'm already in the month. I put in my phone on my notes app, I put what I do daily because I don't even have the journal filled out in time for me to fucking write in it. So I'm like right now I'm doing October and it's like October 5th.
But one's coming eventually.
Well, eventually.
Yeah.
Like end of the year flip through maybe.
Ooh.
I'm having a really fun time with October right now because October is my favorite month.
Yes.
So I feel like I prepared for this this whole year, and like I learned how to draw pumpkins and like really got into it. So like I'm just having a good time.
Yeah.
It's fun mixing like pumpkins and pumpkin spice lattes with spooky vibes.
Yes.
It's like
Agree.
it's just
Strong
fun.
agree.
I'm just having a good night.
October is the favorite time of year in this household.
Yeah.
Very much so.
It's the most wonderful time of the year.
Literally. Ooh, ominous. Hello, it's like 11 o'clock at night now, and we did end up watching The Guilty, and I enjoyed the movie fine. Like, it wasn't like a favorite or anything. Like, I think it was a perfectly decent thriller. It had a decent plot twist. But I just absolutely love Jake Gyllenhaal, and I think he completely carried that whole movie, you know? Like, honestly, if it wasn't for Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't even think I would have liked the movie very much. But he's my favorite actor, and I love watching him on screen. He's just so captivating and so endearing when he's on screen that he just instantly makes me care. And yeah, I thought it was pretty good. I would give it like a 6 out of 10. But anyways, I was planning on filming that video tonight that I mentioned earlier, but I'm just like not in a filming mood tonight. And so I think I'm just going to finish reading Stolen Tongues, which I know you're like, are you sure? Because you were pretty fucking scared last night when you read this book at nighttime. And like, I know, but I only have like 100 pages or less left of this book, and I'm just too curious. Like, I just want to know where this is going and like what's gonna happen. So yeah, I feel like I'm just gonna read this now, so pray for me. Good morning, it's the next morning, and last night I finished reading Stolen Tongues, and I absolutely loved this. Like, I thought it was so freaking terrifying all the way up until the end, which I think is something that's really hard to do, especially for a book that's this long. I mean, it's about 300 pages, so it's not like super, super long, but for a horror book to keep up that like creepy atmosphere for that long is saying something for me. Like, I think that's something that's really awesome with this writer. And I'm not sure if this writer has published anything else, but I definitely want to check out his other books if he has any other books, because wow, this was amazing. This was exactly what I'm looking for in a horror novel. Like, I want something that will just genuinely creep me out and make me feel like, what the fuck, right before I go to bed. Like, that is my favorite kind of horror. I love, you know, in horror books where it's like, you think you can see a mysterious figure shape against the woods, and you can hear them, but you can't see them, and you know something's there, and it's creepy, and you can hear whispering and shit. Like, that shit is my favorite in horror. It's just so effective, it's so spooky, it's so well done. I also really do appreciate the author's note at the end of this book about a decision he decided to make in this book regarding a certain representation of a group of people. I thought that author's note was really nice to get, because I wasn't sure if this author belonged to that group of people or not. I think the conversation about if it's unethical to be writing about a group that you don't belong to, I just think it's a really interesting conversation, and I appreciate that he included that at the end of this book, because I know some people might have some strong opinions about that. But I thought this book was great. I thought it was so well done. I thought it was so genuinely creepy. Like, there were so many times, like, look at how many freaking tabs I put in this thing of moments where I was like, oh fuck, that's scary. And it was just so great. Like, what? This has the most perfect, like, cabin in the middle of nowhere vibes, and like, there's something lurking out there. I think this has to be a 5-star book for me, because I don't have any complaints about it. I just thought it was so freaking well done, and it's definitely a new favorite horror book for me. Like, when people ask for books to like make them scared, or like what's like one of the scariest books you've read, this one is definitely gonna pop into my mind now, because holy shit, because this one will be staying on my mind, and some of this shit was just so terrifying and so creepy. So I'm really stoked to, end the video on such a positive note. Like, that is so exciting, because I honestly was not sure how I was gonna feel about this one. I think out of these 4 books that I just read for this video, this one is obviously my favorite. It's obviously the one that I would recommend the most if you're looking to read any of these books. This was so much fun. What another fun reading vlog of reading your horror recommendations. recommendations. I feel like I definitely want to make this video an annual thing that I do every October at least, just because I have the most fun reading your horror recommendations, and because I do tend to find new favorite books, especially Stolen Tongues. Like, I never would have read this, I never would have even heard of this if it wasn't for you guys recommending it to me, so that's pretty cool. So yeah, if you've read any of these books, let me know your thoughts on them. If you have any other horror book recommendations for me that you think I would enjoy based off this list, then let me know. Thank you so much for all the amazing horror book recommendations, and thank you for watching, and I hope you're having a great rest of your day, and I'll see you very soon with another video. Bye.